Do you know what's killing your productivity? It's not laziness. It's not a lack of motivation. It's the obsession with always being busy. You've been taught that if you're not moving, you're losing. That if you rest, you rust. But here's the truth. The people who achieve extraordinary success, the true high performers, they know how to stop. They understand that idleness isn't weakness. It's strategy. Let me tell you something powerful. Burnout is not a badge of honor. It's a signal. A red light flashing, telling you your engine is overheating. You can't win a race if your car explodes halfway through. Yet most people keep pressing the accelerator, convinced that rest equals failure. No, rest equals renewal. Stillness is not the absence of progress, it's the foundation of it. Think about it, every top athlete, every great artist, every successful entrepreneur, they have moments of deliberate pause. Michael Jordan didn't train 24 hours a day. Steve Jobs was known for walking in silence when facing big decisions. Einstein would sit quietly, staring into space for hours, thinking. What were they doing? Recharging the mind, letting the brain breathe. Because the most powerful ideas don't come when you're typing at 2 a.m. They come when you give your mind the freedom to wander. We live in a world addicted to noise. Constant notifications, endless to-do lists. If you're not producing something every second, you feel guilty. But here's what separates the great from the exhausted. The great ones know when to stop. They know that doing nothing, when done intentionally, is doing something vital. It's giving space for creativity to emerge. When you allow yourself moments of idleness, not mindless scrolling but true mental stillness, you activate the part of your brain responsible for innovation and deep insight. That's when you connect dots others can't even see. Productivity isn't about doing more, it's about doing better. And you can't do better if you're constantly drained. You want to be more productive. Stop burning out. Learn the art of strategic idleness. Take 10 minutes in your day to disconnect. Close your eyes. Breathe. Step outside. Walk without your phone. Let your mind wander. You'll be shocked at how much sharper, faster, and more creative you become. Because success doesn't come from non-stop motion. It comes from balance. From knowing when to accelerate and when to pause. So the next time someone tells you to keep grinding, remember this, even the strongest engines rest before the next race. The winners aren't the ones who never stop, they're the ones who know when to stop. Idleness is not laziness, it's a powerful form of recovery that fuels high performance. Yet in today's world, the line between the two has become dangerously blurred. Society glorifies constant movement. We celebrate the hustle, the grind, the long nights, and the sleepless sacrifices. We equate stillness with weakness and rest with failure. But that belief is a trap. One that's silently destroying focus, creativity, and long-term success. The truth is, idleness is not the opposite of productivity, it's the source of it. When you are idle, your mind is not inactive, it's recalibrating. It's sorting through information, connecting patterns, restoring mental energy, and preparing you for your next surge of action. The human brain was never designed to function at full throttle without pause. Just like a muscle, it grows during recovery, not during exertion. The strongest athletes in the world know this. They push themselves to the limit, but they also schedule recovery days, ice baths, massages, and mental rest. They understand that performance without recovery is self-destruction. The same principle applies to your mind. Mental idleness is the psychological equivalent of muscle recovery. It's what allows you to return sharper, stronger, and more effective. Take a moment to think about when your best ideas appear. Is it when you're forcing yourself to focus for the 10th hour straight? Or is it when you're in the shower, walking outside, or simply sitting in silence? Most breakthroughs don't come from effort. They come from emptiness. From moments when the brain isn't under pressure, when it can finally breathe. Neuroscience supports this. Studies show that the brain's default mode network, which activates during periods of rest and daydreaming, plays a crucial role in creativity and problem solving. When you stop consciously thinking about a problem, your subconscious continues working on it in the background, like a silent engine generating answers. Idleness also restores emotional balance. Constant activity traps you in a loop of doing, reacting, and chasing. It leaves no room to feel, reflect, or reconnect with what actually matters. That's why so many high achievers wake up one day feeling empty despite their accomplishments. They've been so busy running that they've forgotten where they were going. Intentional idleness breaks that cycle. It gives you perspective. It allows you to step back and see the bigger picture, to ask, am I moving in the right direction? Without these moments of pause, you risk becoming efficient at the wrong things. You may be moving fast, but toward burnout, not brilliance. Think of your mind as a smartphone. When you use it non-stop, running multiple apps, streaming videos, checking messages, It overheats, slows down, and eventually shuts off. You wouldn't call that phone lazy when it stops working, you'd call it overworked. What do you do then? You plug it in, you recharge it, you give it time to cool down. That's exactly what idleness does for you. It's your mental charger, yet most people ignore it and wonder why their energy, focus, and passion fade over time. Successful people aren't constantly grinding, they're constantly optimizing. They understand that output is meaningless without input. Rest, silence, and stillness are forms of input. They refill your creative tank, sharpen your focus, and multiply your capacity for action. Think of Warren Buffett, who spends 80% of his day reading and thinking, or Bill Gates, who think weeks in isolation to recharge and reflect, or even top athletes like Novak Djokovic, who meditate daily to restore mental clarity. None of them consider idleness as wasted time. They see it as strategic time, the invisible work that precedes visible success. The world tells you to do more, to keep pushing, to never stop. But the wisest performers know that sometimes the most productive thing you can do is to pause. Idleness isn't about sitting around in apathy, it's about creating mental space. It's about giving your thoughts room to evolve instead of suffocating them under constant pressure. It's the calm that allows creativity to strike. It's the silence that allows clarity to speak. When you allow yourself to be idle, to step away from screens, noise, and endless urgency, something magical happens. You reconnect with yourself. You begin to notice the thoughts and feelings buried under the chaos of constant activity. You regain control over your attention instead of letting it be hijacked by the world's demands. You start operating from clarity instead of fatigue, from purpose instead of panic. So, idleness is not laziness. Laziness is neglect, idleness is nourishment. Laziness drains potential, idleness restores it. One comes from avoidance, the other from awareness. The next time you feel guilty for resting, remember this stillness is not a pause in your progress, it's the preparation for your next leap. The power of doing nothing is not in the nothingness itself, but in what it awakens inside you once you allow yourself to stop. Burnout is not a sign of dedication, but a symptom of imbalance. Yet, in today's hyper-competitive world, we've learned to wear exhaustion like a medal of honor. We celebrate sleepless nights, overloaded calendars, and endless grind as proof of ambition. We admire the person who never stops, who works harder than anyone else, as if pain were the price of greatness. But burnout is not proof of passion. It's proof that something inside you has gone out of alignment. It's the body and mind's way of saying, enough. When you push beyond your natural limits for too long, you begin to deplete the very energy that fuels your excellence. You stop creating and start merely surviving. The drive that once inspired you begins to drain you. You become efficient, yes, but emotionally empty. This is not success. This is self-destruction disguised as commitment. Burnout doesn't come from working hard. It comes from working heartlessly, from losing connection with purpose, joy, and balance. You can only pour out what's inside you, and when that well runs dry, performance, creativity, and even motivation collapse with it. Many people confuse burnout with fatigue. Fatigue is temporary. You rest and you recover. Burnout is deeper. It's a hollow exhaustion that rest alone can't fix because it's not just about the body, it's about the soul. It happens when what you give no longer aligns with what you value. You start to feel trapped by your own effort, like you're running faster but moving nowhere. The flame that once drove you starts to flicker because you've been feeding the fire with everything except oxygen. The truth is, balance isn't the enemy of achievement, it's the foundation of it. When you give yourself space to breathe, you don't lose momentum. You sustain it. Think of it like music. The pauses between the notes are what give rhythm and beauty to the melody. Without the pause, there's only noise. The same applies to your life. When you fill every second with activity, you create chaos, not harmony. But when you learn to balance work with rest, focus with reflection, and action with renewal, you create rhythm, and rhythm is sustainable. Look at the most successful individuals across any field: business, sports, science, art. They're not immune to burnout, but they've learned to prevent it through rhythm and awareness. Serena Williams takes time off to reset mentally before big tournaments. Elon Musk, despite his intensity, schedules silent reflection days. High performers don't avoid rest, they plan it. They see balance not as weakness, but as strategy. They understand that without balance, even the strongest drive will eventually collapse under its own weight. So if you're burning out, it's not because you care too much. It's because you've forgotten to care for yourself. True dedication isn't about pushing until you break. It's about protecting your ability to keep going. Balance is not a luxury for the lazy. It's a necessity for the legendary. Stillness activates creativity, clarity, and smarter decision making. In a world that worships speed, this idea feels counterintuitive. We're told that momentum equals success, that slowing down means falling behind. But the truth is, the mind cannot think deeply when it's constantly reacting. Creativity doesn't bloom in chaos, it thrives in calm. The moments of stillness you allow yourself are not wasted time. They are the birthplace of innovation, insight, and intelligent choices. When you pause and allow stillness to enter your day, something powerful happens inside your brain. The noise of external pressure begins to fade, and beneath that noise lies your true intelligence, quiet, intuitive, and precise. Neuroscience proves this. When the brain enters a state of rest or mindfulness, it activates the default mode network, the system responsible for imagination, reflection, and problem solving. This is why your best ideas often come in the shower, on a quiet walk, or when you're simply staring out the window. It's not coincidence, it's biology. Your brain needs silence to connect the dots that business keeps apart. Creativity isn't about constant brainstorming, it's about creating the mental space where ideas can collide and merge. When you are always doing, you are stuck in linear thought, a loop of execution and reaction. But when you slow down, your mind starts to wander, and wandering is the secret path to creative discovery. History is full of examples. Isaac Newton discovered gravity while sitting under a tree. Archimedes had his eureka moment while taking a bath. Steve Jobs credited his moments of solitude for shaping Apple's most iconic innovations. These weren't random sparks, they were the result of stillness, a quiet mind making powerful connections. Stillness also sharpens clarity. When you're overwhelmed by noise and motion, you can't distinguish what truly matters from what merely demands attention. You make decisions out of urgency instead of insight. But when you stop, breathe, and reflect, priorities become visible. The fog clears. You begin to see your life and goals with precision instead of confusion. It's like cleaning the lens of your focus. Suddenly, what was blurry becomes sharp. From that clarity, smarter decisions naturally follow. High performers understand this. They know that action without reflection leads to repetition, not progress. They carve out silent moments to think, not because they're avoiding work, but because they're protecting the quality of their work. Great leaders, artists, and innovators all share one thing: they value their mental space as much as their time. They don't chase every distraction, they cultivate awareness. Stillness doesn't mean stopping forever. It means pausing long enough to hear the truth beneath the noise. In that silence, creativity awakens, clarity emerges, and decisions become grounded in wisdom instead of impulse. It's not about doing less, it's about thinking better. Because the quiet mind doesn't waste energy, it channels it into genius. True productivity comes from rhythm, knowing when to move and when to pause. Most people believe productivity is about intensity, about squeezing every drop of energy into each moment. But the most effective performers understand it's not the speed that sustains success, it's the rhythm. Life operates in cycles: inhale and exhale, day and night, effort and recovery. The same rule applies to human performance. Without rhythm, you don't create progress, you create exhaustion. Productivity isn't about doing as much as possible, it's about knowing when to push forward and when to pull back so that every action you take has power behind it. When you work without rhythm, you're like a drummer who never stops hitting the drum. There's no melody, no balance, just noise. True rhythm creates flow, and flow creates mastery. When you alternate between focused action and deliberate rest, you enter a state where work feels easier, creativity flows naturally, and time bends in your favor. The best athletes, artists, and thinkers all build their lives around this principle. They sprint when it's time to move and retreat when it's time to recover. This balance allows them to sustain excellence over decades, not just days. Think about nature, the most powerful force we know. Even the ocean moves in waves, not a constant surge. Trees grow through seasons, a time for expansion and a time for stillness. The human body follows the same wisdom. Your heart beats in rhythm, your breath flows in rhythm. When you ignore these natural patterns and force yourself into non-stop motion, you go against your biology. That's when energy drains, focus fades, and motivation collapses. You're not unmotivated, you're out of rhythm. High performers know how to build rhythm into their routines. They don't work endlessly, they work intentionally. They understand that periods of deep, undistracted effort must be followed by renewal. They take breaks not because they're tired, but because they know rest amplifies their output. This is why some of the world's top executives schedule thinking time in their calendars, not meetings, not calls, just quiet reflection. It's not idleness, it's rhythm. It's how they protect the quality of their performance while maintaining the quantity of their output. When you find your rhythm, you become more consistent, not just more driven. You stop relying on willpower and start relying on flow. Every burst of effort is supported by recovery, and every moment of rest prepares you for your next leap. You stop burning out and start building momentum. Productivity then becomes sustainable, enjoyable, and deeply effective. Rhythm teaches you that life is not a marathon of endless motion, but a dance between effort and ease. The most successful people don't just work harder. They move in harmony with their energy. They listen to their body, respect their mind, and honor the pauses that make progress possible. Because it's not the one who runs non-stop who wins. It's the one who knows when to sprint, when to breathe, and when to rise again stronger.